Okay guys, welcome to BoxPred. I just want to talk about the other world title fight that's happening this weekend on the Madison Square Garden undercard. It's for the vacant IBF World Super Featherweight title, and it sees Azinga Fuzile going up against Kenichi Ogawa. Fuzile has a record of 15 wins with 1 loss, 9 stoppages to his name, and he's southpaw. Kenichi Ogawa has 25 victories, 1 loss and 1 draw with 18 stoppages to his name, and he's an orthodox fighter. And I just want to briefly talk about Ogawa first because I don't really have a lot to say on the guy. I've really, try as I may, can't really find an area that he excels in. And he's quite an ordinary fighter. He's pretty standard, upright fighter. I would say he's a mid-distance fighter, so he's neither an inside specialist or an outside specialist. He likes to jump in and out in quick bursts, scoring points that way. His fights, the vast majority of them have been in Tokyo, so he's fought in Japan, his hometown of Tokyo, I believe. He's only came and fought out of Japan once, that was back in 2017, where he fought Tevin Farmer. This title, actually, I think it was for. And he was awarded a split decision victory in that fight, but later on tested positive for steroids, so it was changed to a no contest. And since then he's had 4 fights. He's won 3 of those, and one of them was a draw. And I think it's important to mention that the draw was back in 2019 against a guy called Joe Noinai. It was a technical draw. In the 5th round it was stopped due to clashes of heads, and it happened several times. Now, Noinai also was a southpaw, like Fuzile is going to be in this fight. And just be aware that they clashed heads several times. You can find the fight on YouTube. And they both were cut pretty bad from these head clashes. So beware that in this fight, head clashes, the way that Ogawa fights, and I know it takes 2 guys, but the way Ogawa jumps in when he attacks, he leaves himself open, he leaves his head unguarded, and he kind of moves forward and towards the opponent. That is a recipe for disaster when it comes to head clashes, so I would beware of that in this fight. I really felt that was important to mention because it is a possibility that head clashes could happen. Now, Fuzile is a different type of fighter because he uses the shoulder roll, made famous by Floyd Mayweather Jr., and he's a bit more elusive, so his shoulder roll may negate the head clashes. His shoulder may get in the way, and he bends a lot, and he uses quite a lot of evasive technique, so that may reduce the risk of head clashing, but as I say, there is that risk there, okay? So bear that in mind. So just to finish off on Ogawa, his record suggests that he does have a bit of power, but I think looking at the level of the opposition he's been fighting in Japan, it doesn't seem to be the best. His fights don't have a lot of energy, doesn't have much going on really. They're quite boring in fact, and I just don't see anything special there that Ogawa's bringing to the table. Okay, now Fuzile does leave himself open sometimes, particularly on the inside, and that's when Ogawa could land some shots, and he obviously has power there to potentially hurt Fuzile, okay? But I think in terms of a boxing match, he's going to find it difficult if he's looking at points-wise, okay? So moving on to Fuzile, right, he got the shoulder rolls I've mentioned. He's got quite fast hands, he's elusive, he's got pretty good body work, so he throws some good body shots, and he doesn't neglect the body. I've noticed that with him. He does like to look for the body. That should be a possibility here against Ogawa, okay? Slow the guy down, and then later on try and pick him off. The thing with Fuzile is he does keep his hands low, and whereas guys like Mayweather, who perfected this style, Mayweather used to, even he knew at times when he was trapped against the ropes, he had to put his hands up to protect himself in his old traditional defensive style. Fuzile sometimes neglects that. He still keeps his hands low, even on the inside sometimes, even when he's trapped back towards the ropes, okay? Fuzile's only loss also came by stoppage. So Ogawa was stopped earlier in his career. I think that was a 5th round stoppage. Fuzile was stopped, I believe it was the 8th round, against a guy called Rakimov, who is known to have some power. He's got like a 75% knockout ratio on his record, and he's a pressure fighter, so he pressurized Fuzile, but he was losing the fight. I felt that Fuzile was winning that fight before the stoppage, but what happened was he got pushed back towards a corner. He was near the ropes, and he threw out a lazy jab, and he left himself open. Lacked technique with that one, and to be fair to Rakimov, caught him with a lovely shot. In this fight, Fuzile for me is the only guy that brings a point of difference, okay? He's the guy I'm really tuning in to watch. He's the one with the style, he's the one with the different technique, he's the one with the excitement, he's the one with the volume, he's the one with a bit of a jab. Fuzile is the one who's going to be pushing the pace, I feel, okay? and I just feel that he's going to be a bit too active and a bit too slippery, a bit too evasive for Ogawa to deal with. And I give Ogawa that puncher's chance if he can just catch him, but really I'm looking at Fuzile to win this fight. And actually I think that Fuzile will get to Ogawa, and I think he will stop Ogawa in the 8th round. Reason being is that, as I mentioned already, Ogawa does rush in and leave his head open when he's throwing his own punches. And if you've looked at Fuzile's recent fights, his last fight against Ward, he caught him and stopped him with a lovely right hook, lead right hook, and I think that might be the punch that lands on Ogawa here and hurts him. I think Ogawa is open to that type of thing, so Fuzile really should look for that punch. And Fuzile's got quick hands, so when Ogawa comes in, leaving himself open, and the body's also there to work on, I think that Fuzile's got this one in the bag. So I'm going to leave it there, guys. I'm going with Fuzile by 8th round stoppage. But either way, I'm going for Fuzile to win the fight. If he doesn't stop Ogawa, I'm expecting him to win it reasonably well on the scorecards. So let me know what you guys think. Do you disagree? Do you think I'm overlooking Ogawa here? Do you think he has something that I haven't seen? And yeah, Fuzile's a good fighter. Tune in for this one and see what he looks like. I think he's a pretty good fighter. Guys, until next time, enjoy the fights on the weekend. This is BoxPred, and I'm out.